Everyone in the inner circle knows how much Jushu loves me. He bought a private island for me and even built a castle on it. No matter how many starlets throw themselves at him, he has remained constant and devoted to me. On our 4th anniversary, he invited me onto his private yacht, preparing to propose, but his white moonlight, his first love, suddenly appeared. She looked at him and asked, "Shu, if I accepted your confession from 4 years ago right now, would you still be willing to be with me?" Right in front of my face, Jushu said, "I would." When my best friend found out, she immediately intercepted Jushu's boat with her own $100 million luxury yacht, fiercely standing up for me. My Gigi is a top-tier award-winning actress. Only the most elite tycoons in the capital are worthy of her. Today is Valentine's Day and it marks the 4th anniversary of my relationship with my boyfriend Jushu. He specifically bought a luxury yacht, saying he wanted to spend the entire day with me at sea. Jushu's friends had dropped hints that he planned to propose today. Consequently, I dressed up meticulously. A white mermaid gown hugged the curves I've worked for years to maintain. However, the moment I stepped into the yacht's banquet hall, I felt a shift in the air. Whispers rippled through the crowd. I looked around and caught the strange, flickering gazes of the guests. Finally, one of Jushu's friends couldn't help but ask, "Film Queen Song, why are you here?" I froze. Was I not supposed to be here? As I stood there confused, a woman in a red backless dress came walking toward me. Leaning on Jushu's arm, her black hair cascaded like a waterfall. Her makeup was glamorous and bold, and she flashed me a piercing smile. "Hello, Film Queen Song." I recognized her instantly. Su Yang, an A-list starlet and my longtime rival in the entertainment industry. I looked at Jushu only to find his expression stiff. He instinctively avoided my eyes, focusing instead on Su Yang's reactions. He was just like he used to be, anxious about his image in Su Yang's heart. I knew Su Yang was the white moonlight Jushu had hidden away for years, a topic no one dared to mention. I just never expected that the woman he loved but could never have would choose the exact day he was meant to propose to me to return to his side. The way she acted with Jushu was so intimate it made me feel like the redundant outsider. Everyone's eyes were glued to me, some with pity, some with schadenfreude, and others with the excitement of watching a scandal unfold. Looking at Jushu standing by Su Yang, watching the wordless yet perfect chemistry between them, I felt a sharp ache in my chest. Jushu's friends once told me that years ago, to pursue Su Yang, he had dominated the giant screens of the Century Tower in the capital for 9 days and nights with a bold confession. To win a smile from his lady, he used his capital to get top-tier veteran actors to record birthday greeting videos for her, which went viral instantly back then. Su Yang was the apple of Jushu's eye and her fame was unparalleled. But just when Jushu wanted to make things official, Su Yang told him she loved another man and couldn't be with him. It was on the very day Su Yang rejected him that I met him for the first time. That year my parents died in a car accident, leaving me with a mountain of debt. Creditors were hounding me at my door, leaving me no peace. I happened to be scouted and was essentially tricked into the entertainment industry to pay off my family's debts. That day my manager forced me, a complete newcomer, into a private booth at a high-end club. He pressured me into wearing a skimpy midriff-bearing dress and whispered in my ear, "Serve Mr. Ju well, and I'll give you a minor role with lines in this new production." Surrounded by predatory gazes, I felt helpless. I tugged at my too-short hemline and trembled as I poured wine for Jushu. A drunken man reached for my hand, grinning suggestively. "Master Ju, this chick is pure as can be. You want her? If you don't, I'm taking her." Jushu kicked the man into a corner and lifted my chin, his tone playful. "Make me happy and I'll make sure you can walk tall in this industry from now on." From then on, Jushu showered me with care. Back when I was a nobody with no accolades, people in the industry mocked me as his plaything, but under a sky full of stars, Jushu seriously confessed his feelings and gave me the official title of his girlfriend, giving me a sense of security and belonging. When he learned I was being bullied on set, he visited frequently to let everyone know I was under his protection. After that, no one dared touch me. I once had a dream of traveling the world, but to pay off debts, I had to pinch every penny and gave up on that dream. Jushu found out somehow. After every one of my projects wrapped, he would insist on taking me to the cities I loved. Knowing I loved the ocean, he built me a castle on an island, calling it our future home and saying I was his eternal treasure. Jushu's friends said he spent years chasing Su Yang, so he knew exactly how to please a woman. They always said I was incredibly lucky to be with Jushu. Whenever I heard that, I just laughed it off. I told myself I wasn't Su Yang's substitute. The 4 years I spent with Jushu were real, 4 years of deep mutual love. That was why I refused any help from the Ju family's capital, insisting on carving out my own path in the industry. I wanted everyone to see that I was good enough to stand by his side. I wanted them to know it wasn't just luck. I had run toward the man I loved with everything I had to earn the best love in the world. But just when I thought our 4-year journey was about to bear fruit, reality slapped me hard across the face. Su Yang walked up to me, her thin high heels clicking. She smiled sweetly. "Sister Song, I heard Jushu was going to propose to you today." With the elephant in the room suddenly addressed, I instinctively looked at Jushu, the usually rebellious young Master Ju actually rubbed his nose awkwardly and gave Su Yang a fawning smile. Su Yang then calmly pulled out an exquisite gift box from behind her. "I went to Milan specifically to have a top designer customize a wedding dress. I'm giving it to you as a wedding gift." She opened the box, pulled out the dress, and shoved it into my arms. "It suits you so well, Sister Song." Su Yang squinted her eyes, her smile like a blooming flower. I reached out to touch the dress. It felt rough, the craftsmanship shoddy. Likely a factory defect worth less than $10. Yet Su Yang acted incredibly enthusiastic. "I wish you and Shu a happy marriage." Then she blinked expectantly and asked, "By the way, sister, can I be your bridesmaid?" Su Yang was pressing me at every turn. My heart felt suffocated, but I didn't know how to respond. Jushu couldn't sit still and stood up for his white moonlight. "Yang has a pure heart and good intentions. This is a gift from her. Don't make it awkward for her. I really don't know when you developed such a foul temper. Yang is speaking to you so nicely, and you're just giving her attitude." I looked deeply at Jushu. Finally, using every ounce of acting skill I possessed, I forced myself to smile and agree. Su Yang's eyes crinkled into crescents as she threw herself into Jushu's arms, saying sweetly, "Brother Shu is the best to me." After that, she took a wine glass and began toasting Jushu's friends one by one. Being in the same industry, I had seen Su Yang bully and harass people on set many times, but in front of Jushu's friends she was a different person entirely. By putting on such a humble act, she won over everyone in the room. A drunken man shouted, "Goddess Su really knows how to handle herself, an A-list star, yet so down-to-earth and fun to hang out with. It would have been better if Master Ju was marrying Su Yang. Unlike Song Yaoji, she's so boring at every party. Film queen, but I don't see what the big deal is. Once Master Ju is bored of her, he'll dump her sooner or later." I was pushed to a corner, silently listening to them go on. It was as if they had forgotten I was even there, or perhaps they hadn't forgotten, they just knew the host of the party didn't care, or even tacitly approved of their behavior, so they dared to be so brazen. Su Yang's triumphant gaze swept over my face before she resumed her gentle, charming persona. Pretending to be tipsy, she grabbed Jushu's hand. "Shu, I want to ask you a question." The entire room went silent, all eyes on her. "If I regret it, and I accept your confession from 4 years ago, right now, would you still be willing to be with me?" My heart nearly stopped. I unconsciously gripped my wine glass tighter, staring straight at Jushu. He fell silent for a moment, then under the gaze of everyone present he spoke slowly. "I would." Those 3 simple words hit me like a physical blow. The entire hall erupted in a frenzy. Whistles and catcalls echoed all around, but I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar, my body turning bone cold. The crystal glass slipped from my hand, shattering into 1,000 pieces on the floor. The crisp sound was swallowed by the cheers of the crowd. No one cared. Pushed and jostled, I was shoved against the yacht's railing. One of my high heels fell into the ocean, and in the chaos I twisted my ankle. The pain was unbearable. My meticulously styled hair was now a disheveled mess, and with a sharp snap one of the straps on my gown broke. Helplessness began to wash over me. There was a time when the slightest discomfort I felt would make Jushu frantic with worry. Now he was the center of a celebratory circle, leaning down to feed cake to Su Yang in his arms. Someone mentioned that the cake was a custom 19-tier creation Jushu had ordered from the capital's most prestigious wedding bakery, symbolizing a perfect and eternal marriage. I couldn't bear to look any longer. Overwhelmed and battered, I fled the scene, fighting back tears as I messaged my best friend Shinku. She called back instantly, her voice tight with anxiety. "Shiji, don't worry, give me 3 minutes, I'm coming to get you." Before I could even reply, a violent shove hit me from behind. I lost my balance instantly and plummeted toward the dark sea. In the final second before the water swallowed me, I used every ounce of strength to send Shunku my location. Icy seawater flooded my nose and mouth, threatening to consume me. I struggled desperately, flailing my arms to reach the surface. Wave after wave crashed against me relentlessly, and I felt my strength fading. Just then a piercing spotlight cut through the darkness, accompanied by the roar of an engine. Gigi, Shunku's frantic scream pierced through the howling waves. I saw her standing on her family's $100 million luxury yacht, searching the water with an expression of pure agony. "Quick, rescue divers in the water, now!" Shunku barked the order. Professional rescuers dived in and reached me within moments. Soon I was pulled onto her yacht. Shunku immediately had the butler bring blankets and a shawl. She wrapped me tightly, whispering comfort. "Sweetie, the butler is getting more things to keep you warm. Wait here, that scumbag Jushu has lost his mind. I'm going to deal with those two right now." Before I could stop her, she turned and commanded, "Full speed ahead, catch that gaudy boat." The engine roared as we tore through the water toward Jushu. Shunku brashly forced his yacht to a halt in the middle of the sea and marched onto his deck with terrifying authority. My heart raced. I was terrified she'd cause a scene that couldn't be settled. Ignoring the butler's offer of warm clothes and shoes, I followed her barefoot, wrapped only in a blanket, back onto Jushu's yacht. On the deck, Jushu and Su Yang were locked in an intimate embrace. Shunku tore them apart, her voice cold and sharp as she addressed the crowd. "Who pushed my Gigi into the sea just now?" Her eyes were fixed on Jushu, her aura intimidating everyone present. No one dared cross the eldest daughter of the Shun family. Jushu frowned, clearly oblivious to what had happened. Shunku let out a humorless laugh, seething with rage. "You shameless bastard. While you were playing house with your little mistress, your actual girlfriend almost drowned. For all we know, some homewrecker pushed her just to claw her way up." Su Yang tried to de-escalate with a practiced smile. "Miss Shin, you've misunderstood. Shu and I are childhood sweethearts. We've always been this close, so we might have forgotten our boundaries. Everyone was just joking around earlier. Miss Song probably just slipped and fell while we were having fun. I only came today to give Shu my blessings, and I even brought a couture wedding dress for Miss Song as a gift." Shunku, never one to mince words, shot back. "Save the innocent girl act for someone else. That green tea performance might fool Jushu, but it doesn't work on me." I stepped forward and gently tugged her sleeve. "Cuckoo, let it go. They aren't worth your health." At that moment, Jushu finally noticed me standing behind Shunku. Shivering, soaking wet and huddled in a blanket as the sun set, the sea breeze grew biting, and I couldn't stop trembling. The cold air seemed to snap Jushu back to reality. He rushed over, trying to pull me into his arms, his voice soft and coaxing. "I'm so sorry, it was all my fault. My Gigi is so good to me. Surely you won't stay mad at me, right?" He expected me to be soft-hearted, to be easily soothed like I always was. Instead, I pushed him away coldly and stepped back behind Shunku. "Let's go," I said to her. Shunku squeezed my hand protectively. "You should have left this circle long ago. Jushu and his band of brothers were never any good." Before leaving, Shunku caught sight of the wedding dress Su Yang had gifted me and tossed it contemptuously into the ocean. It was a blatant humiliation, and Su Yang's face turned deathly pale. Jushu chased after me as I turned to leave. "She listened to me. I only look after Su Yang like a younger sister." I let out a soft, bitter laugh. "A sister, you hold your 25-year-old sister and feed her cake. You allow her to confess her love to you at your own proposal party, and you give her the answer she wants in front of everyone." My lips curled into a faint smirk. "For these 4 years, I was nothing more than Su Yang's body double to you." Jushu hesitated. His silence was the only answer I needed. By now, Shunku's butler had brought her top-tier yacht alongside Jushu's, waiting for us to board. Jushu grabbed my hand urgently. "Gigi, stay. I'll personally take you back and we can talk about the wedding arrangements." Shunku cut him off with a sneer. "Do us a favor, young Master Ju, and treat us like human beings. You didn't even give her a proper proposal. You let your dear sister nearly get her killed, and now you have the nerve to mention marriage." In the struggle, my shawl slipped to the deck, and the freezing wind cut through me to the bone. I knew I must look ghastly. Taking a deep breath, I looked at the man I had loved for 4 years and said calmly, "Jushu, let's break up." Without looking back, I boarded Shunku's yacht. The sea breeze brushed across the deck, smelling of salt and bitterness. I sat on the sofa of Shunku's yacht, staring blankly at the horizon. Shunku sighed and began gently drying my hair with a soft towel. "Don't waste your tears on a scumbag. Losing a man like that is a blessing. I managed a weak smile and was about to speak when my phone pinged. Habitually, I picked it up and saw a trending notification from Weibo. The top headline read, #Suyang and Young Master Ju's wedding bells imminent. Before I could process it, my fingers moved on their own to click the tag. Suyang's latest post featured a carefully staged photo. A man sat across from her cutting a steak, his hand raised to feed her a bite. On that wrist was a watch I knew all too well, one of only 5 in the world, Jushu's favorite, which he wore to every significant event. Her caption was dripping with sweetness. Some say the most romantic thing is a mutual leap of faith, loving you just as you are loving me. The comments section was exploding with netizens guessing the man was indeed Jushu. Suyang's fans were ecstatic. Our Susu and the Ju heir are a match made in heaven. Finally, blessings to our Susu. I watched the screen in silence. So what if Song Yaoji is a film queen? She can't hold a candle to Susu. Song Yaoji was always seen with him, probably just a social climber using him for clout. She was just desperate for his attention. Shunku noticed my silence and leaned over to look. What kind of nonsense is this? She fumed. Don't look at that, those comments are definitely paid bots hired by Suyang. Then another notification popped up. I hesitated, then with trembling fingers, I clicked a leaked audio clip from a major gossip account. In the recording, a man's voice teased, "Master Ju, you've been pretty good to the film queen these last 4 years. Are you actually in love with her?" After a brief silence, I heard that familiar voice. Jushu let out a dismissive scoff. What is Song Yaoji to me? When I'm in a good mood, I tease her, I coax her, and she gets all grateful and obsessed. She spent 4 years by my side like a loyal dog. Think about it, having a film queen as your simp gives you such a sense of achievement. Being with her was just practice. Once Yang is willing to accept me, I'll know how to give her the very best love. The phone slipped from my hand and thudded onto the floor. I gripped my skirt tightly. It turned out that the 4 years I spent loving him were, in his eyes, nothing more than my history of being a dog. Shunku let out a soft sigh at the sight. Don't be afraid, I'm right here. I forced a tiny smile, but my facial muscles felt incredibly stiff. Seeing my low spirits, Shunku set down her towel and sat beside me, pulling me into a hug. "Gigi, you know what, I've always admired you." I looked up at her, startled. Sincerity flickered in her eyes. "In the few years since you entered the industry, you've endured so much hardship without a word, carrying it all on your own shoulders and refusing to let me know a thing. Even though one word from the Shun family could have solved it, you insisted on not taking my help. My Gigi is independent and clear-headed. Your acting and professionalism were recognized and praised by industry veterans long ago." I knew she was doing her best to comfort me. A wave of warmth hit my heart and my eyes grew hot. The next second, Shunka leaned in and grabbed my shoulders. "My one and only bestie is a bright, hard-working superstar. Jushu, that slacker silver-spooned trust fund baby, isn't even fit to carry your shoes," she declared righteously. "Only the best man in the world deserves you." I finally laughed, not taking her seriously, and teased, "Well, does this best man in the world have a name?" Shunku acted all mysterious. "How about you marry into the Shun family?" I froze. "We have 2 pretty good options," she said with a wink. "My younger brother or my second uncle, which one do you want?" Before I could answer, she added, "I highly recommend my second uncle, Shun Siyu. He's a handsome, wealthy, top-tier mature man. Think about it, if you marry him, we'll truly be family." At those words, Shun Siyu's face involuntarily surfaced in my mind. The first time I met him was at the annual Best Actress Award ceremony. As the most powerful investor in the industry, he personally presented me with the Gold Award that day. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, his expression cold, radiating an aura that practically screamed, "Stay away." Every girl in the venue was screaming for him. When he handed me the trophy, I met his deep gaze, which hid an undeniable sense of intensity. Even though I was used to big occasions, I still felt a lingering fear of his powerful presence. Even having broken up with Jushu, I wouldn't dare have any designs on him. When I snapped back to reality, Shunku was looking at me with a grin. "So my brother or my uncle?" I shook my head helplessly and put on a serious face. "I want to be a rich woman who keeps 8 male models a day, living the high life with my bestie Keek." I couldn't help but burst out laughing after saying that. Seeing my mood improve, Shunku beamed. "Then I'll have to work hard to keep up with you. We'll be the hottest sugar mommies and order the most expensive models." As the sun set, Shunku stayed by my side, gradually dispelling the gloom in my heart. Shunku dropped me off at home and didn't leave until I promised repeatedly not to do anything. Reckless, after resting alone for a day, I finally decided to find something to do to suppress the lingering emotions. Director Yang was prepping a Class S international blockbuster with a powerhouse lineup of investors. Even though I had won a Best Actress award, I wasn't guaranteed the lead. I had to go to the audition in person and face intense scrutiny from the producers, the director, and the investors. After reviewing the requirements, I called my agent immediately and set up an audition for the next day. When I arrived at the set the following morning, the staff, who had all seen the recent trending topics on Weibo, couldn't hide their gossipy stares. I didn't explain myself, I didn't care. Being back in the familiar filming environment, surrounded by cameras, lights, and studios, made me feel at ease. However, my heart sank when I saw Su Yang was also there, sitting in the lounge. Su Yang shot me a glance. "Oh, if it isn't our Best Actress song, what even you have to come for an audition?" I maintained a polite smile. "It's a fair competition for everyone." Su Yang stopped pretending. "With that mediocre acting of yours, you think you can compete with me for the female lead? You might as well back out now to save yourself the embarrassment." I ignored her provocation and went to the waiting room to focus on the script. Once away from Su Yang, I steadied my nerves and immersed myself in the lead character's life. Her struggles mirrored mine in many ways. During the audition, my performance was seamless and natural, earning unanimous approval from the panel. This gave me a boost of confidence. As I was getting ready to leave after the audition, I saw the director and producer bowing and scraping to a man in a sharp suit. Wasn't that Shun Siyu, Shunku's second uncle, the legendary master Shun of the Beijing elite circle? No matter where he was, his aura was overwhelming, and every gesture exuded nobility. Just as I was spacing out, a familiar voice called out, "Gigi." I turned around to see Shunku. "What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "Coming to find you," Shunku said with a grin. "Audition's over, right? Come on, let's go grab some late-night snacks." Just then, Shun Siyu walked toward us. Upon seeing him, Shunku immediately grabbed my wrist and let out a startled yelp. "Second uncle cough, what a coincidence, what are you doing here?" Shun Siyu glanced at Shunku before his gaze landed on me. I followed suit and greeted him. "Hello, Master Shun." He gave a slight nod. The atmosphere instantly turned stagnant. Shunku tried to make polite small talk. "Uncle, do you want to join us for snacks? Just that barbecue place outside the studio." I gave Shunku a silent thumbs up in my head. Such a casual invitation to a roadside stall. Someone of Master Shun's prestige would surely decline. "Okay," Shun Siyu said flatly. Both Shunku and I were stunned. "Are you sure?" I couldn't help asking. Realizing I'd overreacted, I gave an awkward laugh. It was meant to be a polite gesture. Neither of us actually expected this great deity to join us for street food. Shun Siyu simply nodded. "Yes." Left with no choice, we followed him to the small roadside shop. I felt incredibly uneasy the whole way. His enigmatic aura kept me at a distance, and I followed behind him at a careful pace. Once we arrived, the waiter frantically wiped down the table and chairs in front of Shun Siyu until they gleamed before respectfully inviting him to sit. As he sat, his long fingers rested lightly on the table. His refined, noble air was completely out of place in this smoke-filled hole in the wall eatery. "Master Shun, is there anything you'd like to eat?" I asked softly, trying to break the ice. He glanced at the menu and then turned his eyes to me. "You order." His deep voice sent a strange, indefinable sensation through me. While waiting for the food, Shunku suddenly suggested excitedly, "Hey, why don't you come stay at my place for a while?" I was about to decline when she added pointedly, "It's my grandmother's 70th birthday soon. My grandfather adores her and is throwing a huge banquet." She winked, her voice full of excitement. "I've wanted to introduce you to some high society heavyweights for a long time. Networking will be great for your career." Looking at Shunku, who was always looking out for me, my eyes grew slightly damp. She lowered her voice further. "And I'm worried you'll do something rash." Her tone shifted to a fierce one. "So you have to stay with me so I can keep an eye on you." Seeing my hesitation, she sealed the deal. "If you come over, you can help me prep for the party. I can't handle it all myself." "Alright, it's settled." I knew she was just making up an excuse to ease my mind. Not wanting to reject her kindness again, I nodded in agreement. Shun Siyu's eyes flickered as he listened to us. When the food and drinks arrived, Shunku excitedly grabbed a beer and started drinking. Before long, the alcohol hit her and her cheeks flushed. "Second uncle." Shunku suddenly lost her fear of him and grinned. Let me tell you, I'm planning to introduce Gigi to my cousin, she continued rambling. He's handsome, young, and an award-winning director. He's a perfect match for a best actress like Gigi. She waved her arms drunkenly. If they get married, she will have the Shun family backing her. She can do whatever she wants in the industry. Who would dare bully her then? I was so embarrassed I wanted to disappear into the floor. I tried to cut her off. Keek, you've had too much to drink. But she ignored me and turned to Shinsiyu. Uncle, what do you think of my plan? At those words, Shinsiyu's expression darkened instantly. He shot a cold look at Shunku, radiating a terrifying pressure. Shunku went dead silent, as obedient as a frightened quail. Seeing my bestie looking so pitiful, I laughed and explained, Master Shin, Keek is just drunk and talking nonsense. Please don't take it to heart, I added solemnly. I swear I have no designs on the Shin family assets, please rest assured. Shinsiyu leaned back lazily, holding a cigarette between his long fingers before slowly stubbing it out. He looked up, staring directly into my eyes, and parted his thin lips. What if I allow you to have those designs? I was speechless, unsure how to respond to such a loaded statement. His deep eyes seemed to see right through me. I swallowed instinctively, my heart skipping a beat. He truly lived up to his reputation, the man Su Yang loved but could never have up close. I had to admit that even without his massive capital and overwhelming power, his sheer looks and refined temperament alone were enough to make countless women fall for him. I wondered, if Jushu knew his white moonlight Su Yang was secretly trying to cling to another man, a man who could have Su Yang with just a snap of his fingers, would he go mad with jealousy? Shunku gave a light cough, snapping me back to reality. I quickly regained my composure and played it cool. Master Shin, you must be joking. I wouldn't dare step out of line in front of you if I had 9 lives. I quickly poured him a drink to change the subject. Master Shin, try the signature barbecue here, it's quite good. He gave me a knowing look and clinked his glass against mine. Time passed slowly in that delicate atmosphere. Once Shunku and I were finished, Shinsiyu signaled the waiter for the check. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I'd finally survived this Hongmen banquet. As we stepped out of the shop, the night was late. Suddenly, I saw Jushu talking to the casting director not far from the studio. The director looked troubled. Su Yang was clinging to Jushu's arm, acting like a damsel in distress. Jushu, who had just been scowling at the director, immediately switched to a patient smile, pulling Su Yang into his arms and whispering sweet nothings to her. Shunku followed my gaze and saw them too. She leaned in and whispered, I bet that green tea. Su Yang asked Jushu to come and back her up. She wants to use his capital to snatch the lead role. Jushu has zero taste, trading a stunning best actress like you for a fake little white lotus like her. I was about to say something when Shunku leaned in again, looking shifty. Don't worry, the one thing the Shun family doesn't lack is capital. My second uncle's Shun Group is the biggest investor in this movie. At that moment, Shinsiyu was leaning against his Maybach nearby. Shunku gave me a look and tilted her head toward him. Look, I got the feeling back in the shop that he's interested in you. You know he usually keeps women at arm's length. Maybe you could be the first to break through. Why don't you try to land my uncle? If you do, you'll run the whole entertainment industry. Shunku was a woman of action. Before I could even process what she said, she gave me a hard shove. While I was dazed, caught off guard, I stumbled forward a few steps and, as luck would have it, fell right into Shinsiyu's arms. When I realized what happened, my hands were pressed against the firm abdominal muscles beneath his white shirt. The alcohol I'd drunk made my head a bit foggy, and I instinctively gave them a little press. Looking up, I locked eyes with his dark ink-like gaze. In that moment, I felt almost enchanted. It wasn't until he arched an eyebrow that I snapped out of it. Instantly sober, I pulled my hands back and forced a smile. I didn't realize Master Shin was so busy yet still found time to work out. Your physique is better than all those young idols. Before I could finish, I felt a powerful force around my waist. Shinsiyu's large hand tightened, pulling me back into his chest. This time, there wasn't a gap between us. I could clearly feel the rise and fall of his chest and his steady, powerful heartbeat. His deep, magnetic voice sounded right by my ear. It seems actress song likes my body. Would you like to feel it more closely? Is it better than young Master Ju's? I was originally a bit flustered, but hearing Jushu's name made my face go cold. I didn't care that the man in front of me was the feared Master Shin. I used all my strength to push him away. Master Shin is joking, I said coldly. It's late and I'm sure you're tired. Let's just head home. Shin Se-yu glanced at my expression and seemed to read my mind. He followed my lead and offered, "Fine, I'll drop you two off." I was stunned. I thought he'd be staying at his own luxury villa after all. Shun-ku had told me he moved out of the Shun family mansion after taking control of the group at 18. That was the only reason I'd agreed to stay there with her. Sharing a roof with Shin Se-yu and his high-pressure aura, the mere thought terrified me. Upon hearing Shin Se-yu's words, Shun-ku's jaw nearly hit the floor. "Uncle, don't go to any trouble, I'll just have the butler pick us up." Shin Se-yu glanced at me and spoke nonchalantly. "It's been a while since I've been back to the old family estate. I'm planning on staying there for a few days." Watching that sly black-bellied old fox, I couldn't help but mutter under my breath, "I don't believe a word of that." Once we arrived at the Shin estate, Shun-ku was practically vibrating with excitement as she arranged my room. "Uncle, the room right next to yours is vacant, let's have Gigi stay there." After speaking, she even flashed me a playful wink. I snapped my head up, looking at her in pure disbelief. This girl actually dared to dig a pit for me. I signaled her frantically with my eyes, hoping she'd take back the suggestion. However, Shin Se-yu simply nodded calmly. That works." His gaze swept over my face with a lingering intensity that made me feel an inexplicable surge of nerves. Shun-ku smiled back at me, her eyes dancing with the thrill of someone watching a chaotic show unfold. Caught off guard by my best friend's move, I desperately wanted to grab her and settle the score, but in front of Shin Se-yu, I could only maintain a poised, elegant smile and accept the arrangement with a nod. The moment I stepped into the room, I let out a long breath of relief. As I settled down, the image of Jushu acting like a tyrant toward the director tonight flashed through my mind. Who would eventually land the female lead in this S-tier production? Would director Yang really give the role to Su Yang just to save face for the Ju family? I shook my head, trying to soothe my own thoughts. Forget it, do your best and leave the rest to fate. Let nature take its course. Despite everything that had happened, I didn't suffer from the insomnia I expected. Lying on the soft bed, I drifted off quickly and enjoyed a peaceful night's sleep. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains. I was just about to get up when my phone rang. "Hello, Director Yang," I answered, my voice still thick with sleep. Movie Queen song. Director Yang's voice was unusually enthusiastic. "The female lead for this film belongs to no one but you. You are the perfect fit." I froze for a second. "What?" Director Yang immediately launched into a barrage of praise. "Your acting is masterful, your temperament is exquisite, and your image perfectly matches the character. Your public appeal is top tier, and you're a box office magnet in the entire entertainment industry. There isn't a second person more suited for this role than you." Stunned by this sudden shower of flattery, I felt a wave of suspicion. Did Director Yang take the wrong medication today? After hanging up, I suddenly remembered Shun-ku's hints from last night. A light bulb went off in my head. Could the person who helped me be Shin Se-yu? I felt a bit uneasy. In this current climate, the only person with the guts, the capital, and the absolute power to suppress the Ju family's influence was Shin Se-yu. After washing up and changing, I opened my door and ran into Shun-ku, who was on her way downstairs to walk the dog. "Keek, is your uncle home?" I asked urgently. Shun-ku looked me up and down with a meaningful, suggestive smirk. He's in the study handling some company business." I knew she was misunderstanding the situation, but I didn't have the energy to explain. I just wanted to find Shin Se-yu and get to the bottom of this. Taking a deep breath, I clenched my hands and walked slowly toward his study door. I gathered my courage and gave a light knock. Once I heard his permission, I pushed the door open cautiously and stepped inside. The study was filled with the faint scent of sandalwood. Shin Se-yu was flipping through some documents. Hearing my footsteps, he looked up and stared straight at me. My fingers instinctively twisted together. Having spent years in the entertainment industry, I had seen my fair share of storms, yet I felt a groundless tension in front of this man. "Second Master Shin," I wanted to ask. I took a quiet breath, trying to steady my racing heart. "Was it you who helped me behind the scenes to land the lead in this S-tier production?" Shin Se-yu didn't answer immediately. His gaze remained steady and a faint, unreadable smile touched his lips. "You have the talent to win this role more than anyone else." I couldn't help but mumble under my breath. He makes it sound like he knows me so well. The moment the words left my mouth, I realized I'd slipped up. I looked up in a panic, meeting his dark, heavy gaze, which sent a jolt through my chest. Flustered, I took a step back and accidentally knocked into the bookshelf. A thick book fell to the floor with a thud. I hurried to pick it up, and that's when a photograph fluttered out from the pages. I instinctively reached to tuck it back in, but froze the moment I saw the image. It was a photo of me from when I first entered the industry. My face was innocent, my smile naive. It felt like I was looking back across time at my younger self. Shocked, I looked up to find Shen Siyu staring at me, his eyes hiding emotions I couldn't quite decipher. Panicked, I shoved the photo back into the book, returned it to the shelf, and unable to meet his eyes, muttered an excuse and fled the study. Back in my room, I leaned against the door and let out a heavy sigh. As the scene replayed in my head, I felt as if I had glimpsed a significant secret. I tried to tell myself not to overthink it, but a strange emotion was bubbling up inside. Why did Shen Siyu keep a photo of me from all those years ago? Just how long has he known me? While I was lost in thought, my phone rang. It was Jushu. I've given you a few days to cool off. You should have come to your senses by now, right? Stop throwing a tantrum, give the lead role to Xiaoyan, and I might consider giving you a chance to come back to me. Hearing his entitled tone, I found it utterly bizarre. I reminded him once again, Jushu, we've broken up. I owe you nothing, even if I did. After 4 years of acting like your lapdog and being dragged through the dirt, I've long since paid my dues. Jushu sounded like he couldn't believe his ears. Song Yaoji, don't tell me you don't love me anymore. What was our 4-year relationship even for? I let out a cold laugh. Jushu, so you actually remember we dated for 4 years? Memories flooded back. On my birthday 2 years ago, I wanted a quiet night, but he rented a ballroom and invited everyone just to give me a surprise, which turned out to be a slideshow of intimate photos of him and Su Yang, making me the laughingstock of the room. At last year's Starlight Gala, when I beat Su Yang for the Best Actress award, he publicly insinuated the results were rigged, saying the judges overestimated me and that Su Yang was the true winner. He even told me to give my trophy to her and expected me to hold her dress train as we left the stage. And this year, right before he was supposed to propose, he spent several nights getting blackout drunk, only to scream Su Yang's name while I held him. My voice grew icy. Jushu, from now on we go our separate ways. Let's just end this cleanly. With that, I hung up and blocked him. As the sunlight hit my face, I shook my head, trying to clear my mind of him once and for all. Time to work. I stuffed my script into my bag and headed to the set. The set was bustling with staff. I walked straight to the director. Director Zhong, I have a few questions about the details of this scene. I'd like to discuss the script with you. The director readily agreed and we sat down to dive deep into the character. Time flew and before I knew it, it was afternoon. Back in my dressing room, I asked my assistant Lulu to help me run lines. Lulu, let's start from the third scene. I had just opened the script when the door was pushed open. Shen Siyu's tall frame appeared in the doorway, with the director right behind him, giving Lulu a meaningful look. Lulu took the hint and bolted out instantly. The director smiled, closed the door, and left me alone with Shen Siyu. I tried to keep my voice steady. To what do I owe the honor of Second Master Shen's visit? Filming starts soon, and I need Lulu to help me run lines to get familiar with the plot. A slight smile played on Shen Siyu's lips, his eyes flashing with an unreadable emotion. I'll run lines with you. It's better than having your poor little assistant try to play the male lead. I instinctively wanted to refuse, but he had already picked up the script and flipped to the page I had marked. When he looked up at me, his eyes carried a heavy, undeniable pressure. I sighed inwardly. Then I'll have to trouble you, Second Master. Saying that, I slipped into character instantly. Lifting a corner of my chipao, I shed my previous hesitation and sat on Shen Siyu's lap. Young Master, I said, using the lines from the script as I caressed his face, my voice dripping with seduction. Are you truly going to leave me? Shen Siyu's hand landed casually on my waist, his gaze suddenly turning deep and dark. I must go, he whispered, his voice low and gravelly. But my heart will always belong to you. Our gazes locked, and the air in the room became thick with an unspeakable tension. I followed the plot, playing the temptress. Second Master Shen was surprisingly good at playing along, countering every move and stirring my heart. Between the two of us, sparks began to fly in that dressing room. Our breaths mingled, his palms were warm, the heat radiating through my thin clothes to my skin. It wasn't until Shen Siyu flipped our positions, pinning me down and pressing his lips against my neck, that I snapped back to reality. Blushing furiously, I pushed him away. Thank you for the cooperation, Second Master. I've mastered the role. I tried to make my voice sound calm. It's a bit hot in here. I'm going out for some air. Shen Siyu adjusted his crumpled shirt with agonizing slowness. Always at your service, he said, his voice carrying an implication I couldn't ignore. His breath brushed against my ear, his deep voice carrying a strange magic. My head spun, and my ears felt like they were on fire as I practically bolted from the dressing room. The cool air outside helped me clear my head as I tried to calm my racing heart. Just then a familiar figure caught my eye. Su Yang was creeping toward my dressing room. Clearly thinking no one saw her, I stood there, debating whether to stop her. Shen Xiyu was still in there. Ultimately, I chose silence. Su Yang slipped into the room and the door clicked shut behind her. "Sister Song, are you okay?" Lulu's voice snapped me back to the present. "I'm fine," I smiled, "just a bit tired from the rehearsal, so I came out for some air." Lulu looked at me and suddenly gasped. "Sister Song, your lipstick is all over the place." She pointed at my face. "And your neck has." She quickly pulled out a small mirror. In the mirror, my lips were slightly swollen and there were several distinct purplish marks on my neck. Recalling what happened in the dressing room, I cursed Shen Xiyu as a rogue in my head. On the surface, I remained unfazed. I got bitten by a poisonous mosquito while drinking juice. "Lulu, could you get the makeup artist to touch me up, thanks?" As night fell, a shocking piece of gossip began to circulate through the crew. Word was that Su Yang, in a desperate attempt to snatch the lead role, had thrown herself at Second Master Shen in the dressing room. I stood in a corner, listening to the whispers around me. I heard Su Yang stripped off her clothes, trying to seduce him using the scene from the script. Too bad for her. Second Master Shen didn't buy it at all. He had her wrapped in a bedsheet and carried out. The worst part is, Su Yang seems to have snapped. She was screaming at the top of her lungs about how she's loved him for years, demanding to know why he only has eyes for Song Yaoji. I froze. "Shen Xiyu likes me." I shook my head, thinking it sounded like a fairy tale. Su Yang must have been so devastated that she started talking nonsense. I sighed, feeling a flicker of pity for her. She hadn't just lost the lead, she wouldn't even be able to keep the supporting role now. She had brought this all on herself. I turned and walked away, deciding not to dwell on the chaos. None of these people would matter to me going forward anyway. Today was old Madam Shen's birthday. I changed into an elegant gown and carefully checked every detail in the mirror. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out of my room and headed toward the ballroom downstairs. The Shen family's ballroom was a picture of gold and grandeur. Crystal chandeliers cast brilliant light over the guests in their finest attire. I stood in a corner quietly observing this high society gala. The elite chatted in small groups, their clinking glasses a testament to their luxury. Suddenly, a commotion broke out. I followed the noise and saw Jushu entering the hall with Su Yang on his arm. Jushu looked sharp in his well-tailored suit, while Su Yang was dressed in a vibrant red gown, looking exquisite and alluring. The Ju family, being part of the capital's elite, had naturally been invited to the matriarch's birthday. It seemed Jushu had brought Su Yang as his date for the evening. Jushu's gaze swept across the room, and he visibly froze when he spotted me, his brow furrowed, eyes flashing with shock. However, out of respect for old Mrs. Shen, he didn't dare step forward to confront me directly. Su Yang clung tightly to Jushu's arm, her chin tilted up in a smug pose, but the moment she saw me, she looked as if she were grinding her teeth to dust, glaring at me with pure venom. It was then I realized that Shen Xiyu had appeared beside me at some point. His tall, imposing figure felt like a shield, cutting off all the judgmental stares directed my way. "Ignore them," he murmured into my ear. His voice was low and steady. I looked up to find a trace of unexpected tenderness softening his usually cold features. Before I could respond, old Master Shen's voice boomed from across the room. "Ayu, come over here for a second." Shen Xiyu gave me a brief nod and strode toward him. The old master was huffing and puffing, his dissatisfaction written all over his face. "You brat, you're not getting any younger. You'd better bring a girlfriend home for us to meet this year, or I'll arrange a corporate marriage for you myself." His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Or just pick a suitable girl from the families here tonight, and we'll head over with the betrothal gifts immediately." The atmosphere in the ballroom instantly turned electric. The young ladies in attendance turned their eyes toward Shen Xiyu. In unison, their gazes shimmering with hope, a few of them even began frantically smoothing their dresses. Shen Xiyu remained expressionless, though I noticed a slight tightening of his jaw that betrayed his annoyance. Suddenly, he turned on his heel and strode back toward me. Under the stunned gazes of the crowd, he wrapped an arm firmly around my waist and leaned down to whisper, "Play along." His breath brushed against my ear, sending an involuntary shiver down my spine before I could process what was happening. He took my hand and led me right in front of the Shen elders. Shen Siyu's voice was deep and unwavering. "No need to worry, grandfather. As it happens, let me introduce you. This is my girlfriend and my future wife, Song Yaoji." My eyes widened at the words future wife, and I couldn't help but shoot him a glare. Isn't this taking their acting a bit too far? Shen Siyu simply gave me a reassuring look and gave my palm a gentle grounding squeeze. Old Mrs. Shen looked me up and down, a warm, kind smile spreading across her face. "Oh, I like this girl. She has such a wonderful aura." She took my hand in hers, dignified, graceful, and sweet. "I like you very much." She turned to the old master, her eyes bright with delight. Seeing his wife so happy, old Master Shen finally broke into a grin. "Well, if you like her, there's no time like the present. Let's make the engagement official today." No sooner had he spoken than the old mistress pulled out a thick red envelope and pressed it into my hands. "This is a little something for our first meeting. Take it, dear." Before I could even try to decline, she reached up and unclasped a South Sea pearl necklace from her own neck. The pearls glowed with a soft, ethereal luster under the chandeliers. "This is a Shen family heirloom." She placed the necklace around my neck with great solemnity. Looking at the priceless pearls, I felt overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. "Isn't this moving a bit fast?" The old mistress smiled kindly and patted my hand. "We Shens don't care for empty formalities. When the fate is right, it's right. I can tell you're the perfect match for AU." My mind went blank. I could do nothing but nod mechanically and accept the gifts under the collective gaze of the high society guests. The party grew even more boisterous as I followed Shen Siyu, accepting toasts and blessings from the powerful elite. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Su Yang's undisguised jealousy. While the usually stoic Shen Siyu actually looked triumphant, Shen Ku kept winking at me from the sidelines, excitedly chirping, "Hey, little auntie." After several glasses of champagne, my cheeks began to flush. I gave Shen Siyu's sleeve a gentle tug. "I'm going to use the restroom." He nodded and released his hold on my waist, tucking my skirt up. I navigated through the crowd toward the hallway, feeling Jushu's gaze burning into my back the entire way. As I turned a corner, a hand suddenly clamped onto my wrist. I spun around to see a frantic, distorted look on Jushu's face. "You were that desperate to find a rebound," he hissed. I struggled to shake him off, but his grip only tightened. "Let go," I barked, ignoring me. He shoved me straight into the ladies' room. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I watched him warily as he approached me, a dangerous glint in his eyes. He slammed me against the corner wall. "When did you crawl into Second Master Shen's bed?" he sneered, his eyes dark with malice. "Did you sell your body to get to the top?" His eyes were bloodshot and his breathing was ragged, like a rabid animal. A surge of fury boiled up inside me, and I swung my hand, landing a sharp slap across his face. Just as I turned to leave, he lunged and yanked me back. He began tearing at my evening gown while trying to force a kiss on me. I fought with everything I had, but I couldn't break his hold as his hand slid up my waist. I bit down hard on his lip out of pure desperation. Jushu let out a cry of pain and his grip slackened. At that moment, a tall shadow loomed in the doorway. Shen Siyu lunged forward and threw Jushu off me, his fists raining down on him like a storm. Jushu was quickly overwhelmed, collapsing into a heap on the floor. Shen Siyu swept me up into his arms and strode toward the second-floor dressing room. His embrace offered a strange sense of warmth and security. By the time I realized what was happening, my arms had already instinctively curled around his neck. Once inside the dressing room, he set me down gently on the sofa. He knelt before me, tenderly smoothing out my disheveled dress. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here. I won't leave your side for the rest of the night." I looked up at him. He was staring at me with an intensity so deep it felt like his dark eyes held emotions I couldn't quite decipher. Flustered, I pushed him back slightly, stammering, My dress is ruined. I need to change before I go back down." "You should go back to the guests. It wouldn't look good if you're missing from your grandmother's birthday banquet." He looked at me for a long time, brushing a stray lock of hair behind my ear before finally speaking. "Fine, if anything happens, call me immediately." "I'm okay," I mumbled, practically ushering the great deity out the door. I just needed him gone so I could steady my racing heart. After the door closed, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Shen Ku, giving me a play-by-play of the chaos in the ballroom. After we left, Su Yang had tried to suck up to old Mrs. Shen, only to be met with a cold shoulder. Meanwhile, Jushu, battered and bruised, felt he'd lost too much face and intended to drag Su Yang away, but when he stumbled back into the hall and saw his white moonlight fawning over the Shuns, he immediately believed the rumors that she had tried to seduce Shin Siyu on set. He took all his rage out on her, slapping her and cursing her out right in front of the old mistress. Old Mrs. Shun was shaken and old Master Shun was livid that his wife's birthday had been ruined. He had security throw them both out and announced that the Ju family was no longer welcome at any Shun event. Reading the news, I felt nothing but a strange calm. Anything involving Jushu could no longer stir even a ripple of emotion in my heart. The role of the second female lead was recast with a low-profile, professional actress, and filming officially resumed. The set was a hive of activity and the director nodded with satisfaction at the new actress. Good, very good, that expression is spot on. Without Su Yang, the entire atmosphere on set was much lighter, the crew looked less tense and the makeup artist stopped whispering in corners. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking the production would finally go smoothly. As I was immersed in my work, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure. Shin Siyu was back. He stood tall at the edge of the set, his eyes never leaving me. I couldn't help but frown, wondering to myself, he runs the massive Shun group, the largest in the country. Shouldn't he be incredibly busy? How does he have time to visit the set every single day? MS Song, get ready. Your scene is next, the script supervisor called out. I nodded and hurried toward the makeup trailer. As I passed by Shin Siyu, he spoke up. It's a bit chilly today, I had my assistant bring you a down jacket. I paused, realizing for the first time that I actually had goosebumps on my arms. Thank you, I said softly, a flicker of something strange stirring in my chest. Film Queen Song, we're ready for the next shot. The director shouted. I took a deep breath, composed myself and stepped onto the set. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Shin Siyu watching me with focused intensity. I gave him a small smile and turned back to my work. The filming continued until late into the night. It wasn't until the director shouted, "That's a wrap for today," that I finally breathed a sigh of relief, feeling the weight lift off my shoulders. I dragged my exhausted body out of the studio only to spot Shin Siyu from a distance, leaning against his understated yet luxurious car with his arms crossed. His piercing gaze was fixed on the direction I was coming from. The sheer intensity in his eyes made an involuntary shiver run down my spine. Recalling the photos I had seen in his study that day, my instinct was to flee, but he intercepted me with a firm hand. It's late, I'm taking you home. His tone left no room for argument. Before I could react, I was pulled into the car by his commanding grip. The moment the car door shut, Shin Siyu's scent instantly enveloped me. He pinned me against the back seat and leaned into the door, coaxing me in a low voice, "Don't push me away, okay?" Before I could utter a word, his lips were upon mine, kissing me until I was nearly breathless. I gradually went limp in his arms. He nipped at my ear and whispered, "Song Yaoji, do you have any idea how long I've waited for this moment?" With Shin Siyu's constant presence, I slowly grew accustomed to having dinner with him every night after work. In the quiet intimacy of private restaurants, he would always thoughtfully serve me food. Without realizing it, I began to look forward to these moments. I found myself no longer resisting his closeness. Sometimes, when his fingers accidentally brushed against mine, my heart would actually skip a beat. This subtle shift left me feeling both expectant and afraid. One evening, Shin Siyu took me to a luxury apartment. "I bought this place near the set, you'll be staying here from now on." I was taken aback and started to decline. Sensing my hesitation, Shin Siyu leaned in slightly, his eyes locking onto mine. "I am the lead investor of this film. Only when the leading lady is well rested can she deliver the best performance." His voice was gentle yet brooked no defiance. I bit my lip, struggling internally. Ultimately, I nodded in agreement. The corner of Shin Siyu's mouth curled upward, a glint of triumph flashing in his eyes. Day after day, Shin Siyu permeated every corner of my life. His meticulous care caused my defenses to crumble without me even noticing. Once, when I caught a cold on set, he immediately summoned his private doctor. Seeing his anxious expression, I unconsciously allowed my pampered side to show. "President Shin, I'm so tired today." He gently ruffled my hair. "Then let's go home early and rest." At that moment, I suddenly realized I had become habituated to his presence. My transformation didn't go unnoticed by the crew. "Has Film Queen Song found herself a boyfriend? She looks absolutely radiant," someone teased. I lowered my head in embarrassment, my cheeks flushing warm. I thought back to my haggard state right after the breakup with Jushu. And then looked at myself now. The woman in the mirror had bright eyes, rosy skin, and radiated happiness. A phrase surfaced unbidden in my mind. To be loved is to be nurtured like a flower. The filming concluded, and the movie was successfully released 6 months later. It was a box office sensation, and I rightfully became the nation's top-tier actress with the highest box office draw. The lights were dazzling. I stood on the awards stage, clutching the heavy trophy. I fought to calm my racing heart. Thank you all for your support and love. The audience erupted in thunderous applause. Shin Si-yu stood at the edge of the stage, his gaze burning as he watched me. He walked up slowly and personally handed me the highest honor, the Best Actress award. Our eyes met. His were swirling with a turbulent tide of affection. Congratulations, Shin Si-yu said softly, a slight smile playing on his lips. As I took the trophy, my fingertips brushed against his hand. A jolt of electricity surged through my body and I felt my face heat up. After stepping off the stage, I was swarmed by industry insiders. MS Song, congrats on the win. Our company has a new project. Film Queen Song, would you consider endorsing our brand? I handled them with polite grace, but my mind kept drifting back to Shin Si-yu. I turned to look and saw him standing not far away, a faint smile on his face. Those eyes of his had never stopped watching me. After the ceremony, I invited Shin Si-yu to dinner. Inside the quiet, elegant private booth, I raised my glass. Second Master Shin, thank you for giving me the chance to star in this movie. A hint of a smile touched his eyes as we clinked glasses. Your acting and hard work were the keys to success. After 3 glasses of wine, my cheeks were burning and my head felt a bit hazy. Shin Si-yu suddenly leaned in, his warm breath fanning my ear. Since you have no way to repay me, why not give yourself to me instead? His large hand clamped around my waist, pulling me sharply into his embrace. With the alcohol emboldening me, I pressed my hands against his chest and finally dared to ask, Shin Si-yu, why do you have photos of me hidden in your study? Shin Si-yu froze for a moment, then let out a low chuckle. So you found them? His voice was deep and magnetic. Years ago, I went to a set as an investor to watch newcomers audition, and I noticed you instantly. My eyes widened as I stared at him in disbelief. Second Master Shin had always been a man who valued his pride and wasn't one to bare his heart, but under my persistent pestering, he finally admitted it. It was love at first sight, and he had been planning this for a long time. His gaze grew even more heated as he leaned in to test the waters with a kiss. His lips met mine with a touch of restraint. I couldn't help but press closer, my arms winding around his neck. Shin Si-yu seemingly hadn't expected me to be so proactive. His breath hitched instantly. The next second, his eyes reddened with desire and he tightened his arms, pulling me even closer. I felt as though I was drowning in the overwhelming depth of his kiss. The temperature in the booth spiked, the air becoming thick and searing. Shin Si-yu's hand roamed across my back, sending waves of tremors through me. A soft moan escaped my lips, my fingernails digging into his shoulders. The kiss deepened, as if he wanted to consume me whole. After what felt like an eternity, he finally pulled away, though clearly reluctant. His forehead rested against mine, his voice raspy. Song Yaoji. Come home with me. I nodded breathlessly, my eyes blurred with emotion. Shin Si-yu swept me up in a bridal carry and strode out of the booth. The night was as dark as ink, dotted with starlight. Back at his mansion, he laid me gently onto the soft, oversized bed in the bedroom. He hovered over me, his eyes burning with a fierce, raw desire. The next day, I was jolted awake by the harsh sunlight. My body felt weak and aching, and it was a struggle even to move a finger. I forced my eyes open to find myself tucked tightly in Shin Si-yu's arms. He was still asleep, his long lashes quivering slightly in the light. I couldn't resist reaching out to stroke his sharp jawline. Shin Si-yu suddenly opened his eyes, his deep gaze brimming with amusement. Good morning, my film queen. He planted a kiss on my forehead. My face turned bright red and I burrowed into his chest, not daring to look at him. He chuckled, his large hand stroking my back. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand to check the time, only to be stunned by the top trending headline. Jushu had publicly announced he was going to win me back, even recruiting various A-list actors to record blessing videos. I just felt cringed out, wondering what kind of fit Jushu was throwing now. Shin Si-yu saw the video too, his brow furrowing. He suddenly squeezed my waist, his voice tinged with a dangerous edge. Gigi, let's go public with our relationship, shall we? Just then the photo of Shun Siyu and me looking at each other from across the room at the awards ceremony went viral. It was obvious to anyone with eyes that he looked at me with undisguised possessiveness. While the whole internet was speculating whether Second Master Shun was my sugar daddy, I posted a photo on Weibo of our interlaced fingers. The caption read, "Not a sugar daddy, he's my official fiancé." Immediately after, Shun Siyu used the Shun Group's official account to repost my message, "Film Queen Song is my wife." After posting, he tossed the phone face down on the nightstand and pinned me back onto the bed, burying his face deep into the hollow of my collarbone. He murmured in a low, husky voice, "Wife, let's go again, okay, the end."